All right, welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, and this is
Dr. Crystal.
Hey, topic today, another hormone topic.
Part 2.
2 weeks in a row. We talked about estrogen last week, and today we're talking about testosterone replacement therapy. You know, us guys, we get older, we lose testosterone, Dr. Crystal.
Yes, and this is a popular topic. I even see it on billboards now.
Yeah, well,
T.
I think we're finally recognizing the idea that men go through a change like women do too. It's been called andropause for years, but it never really caught on. But low T.
That's catchy.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's women lose hormones, men lose hormones, and it changes us, right? But energy levels, muscle levels, libido for guys, it all has an effect on our body. So what we're going to do on today's show is we're going to talk about, there it is, we're going to talk about testosterone replacement therapy. What is it? Who's it for? And listen, this will be some really good information, I think.
Give you a nice guide.
Yeah. Speaking of guide, let's back up. We did this with the estrogen show. Let's do kind of a hormone, 101 real quick, just so we can kind of set the stage of why this is important.
Yeah, for those who didn't see the show last week, hormones, they are your body's messengers.
Who missed they don't miss our shows. Who missed the show last week?
Someone that's new.
Oh,
did you share last week's show with a friend and now you're the friend and you're on?
Yeah, there you go. And by the way, we can see your comments and everything. So as we go throughout the show, let us know about what you think about the content and stuff. So let's go ahead. I like to teach that hormones are basically messengers, right?
Yes.
The cells need to communicate together. The brain needs to has a lot of direction for the body.
Yes.
All of that kind of communication is done through hormones.
Yes, and it's going to help to support homeostasis and that balance. And we need communication in all parts of life, not just within the body. But can you imagine when the body is not sending the proper message to different areas?
Things break down. I mean, and that's what happens. We lose hormones. Most people have the optimal levels of those. These are called steroid hormones, estrogen, testosterone. There's others in your 20s and 30s. But that's about it. Things start to drop, Dr. Crystal.
Very true.
Yeah, and so that's where you lose the communicators. When that happens, there's just the body's not in that balance. It's not in homeostasis. And that's why we believe, and I know you're a firm believer in it, is hormone replacement therapy. It's really is a key step to aging healthy. Right,
and we're not talking about bringing hormones up to levels that you would normally have.
This is not anything crazy
in those
like that.
Healthier in those healthier years. We're talking about just bringing you back up to the healthy, normal ranges.
I gotta tell you, when I'm gonna just make up that age, 29. That was probably my best testosterone level ever, and I felt great at 29.
Yeah,
I looked pretty good too, Dr. Crystal. So for me, I'm 53 now. I'm not at that level. I'm getting ready to start testosterone replacement therapy.
Dr. Mike.
My levels aren't so bad, but they're down, no doubt. And my goal is to simply go back to that 29-year-old
Just a little
age.
boost.
Yeah, that's all it is. Get me back in that good homeostasis, good communication going on. I really do think it's a key step to living a little longer, living longevitous, living forever-ish, which is our podcast.
Forever-ish, and being healthier in your older years, having sufficient muscle mass, having the strength, so if you fall, you can get yourself back up.
Yes,
supporting bone health, when you start thinking about and having the will and the drive to want to be out, to be active.
Yeah. Conventional medicine has done a good job in keeping people alive longer. Not necessarily great lives, right? So that's our little take on living forever-ish. Check out the podcast at liveforeverish.com. That was a quick little plug. So let's get back to testosterone now. How does somebody know if they need testosterone replacement therapy? What are some of the key things we need to look at?
So obviously people think about age. So we've talked about age, symptoms, how are you feeling, and then ultimately blood testing.
Yeah. Yeah, blood testing is really it's the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, as a clinician who's done a lot of hormone testing, blood is kind of the standard because I know there's a lot of different ways of testing hormones now. Blood is still going to be your standard. What's important though, when you go to your doctor to get a testosterone test, don't let your doctor just order testosterone. Or total testosterone, right? There's a lot more to it.
There's so much more. Well, your testosterone and these steroid hormones that we're talking about, these are lipids, meaning, they're composed of fats. And so the bloodstream is primarily water. So these hormones are transported. And when they're connected to that transporter, they can't get inside of the cell to give you the effects. So you have to make sure you're measuring total testosterone and free testosterone.
Yeah, the free testosterone is really if that's really low, that's the symptoms, at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that your doctor is testing at least both of those. Just real quick, other tests that I'm just going to throw this out there, and maybe later on, maybe our social team can put these maybe in some in a post or something. Make sure your doctor's checking DHEA.
A precursor.
That's a precursor to testosterone. If you're a guy, you got to check your estradiol levels. That's an estrogen. I know it sounds weird, but you got to do it.
Absolutely have to.
100%. Prolactin is another one for guys. PSA is another one. I think that's where I'm just going to leave it. But at least you want more of a hormone profile. You just don't want to focus on testosterone.
You need the big picture because that testosterone turns into estrogen. That's a part of that andropause picture that Dr. Mike mentioned at the beginning of the show, male menopause. And that's a part of why the testosterone levels decrease with age because it's turning into estrogen.
So I'm going to quiz you now.
Okay. Bring it on.
Good. Don't change your cards there.
How about
Whoa! All right. What is the optimal total testosterone for a man?
I need my card.
No! She's going to cheat.
Total testosterone between 60 to 90 nanograms per deciliter.
600.
600, yes, to 900.
You failed.
Even with my notes.
That's it. You failed. You got to retake the class.
Oh, no.
Yeah, 600 to 900. Free testosterone, that's that key one, right, is 15 to 25 picograms per milliliter. And then for estrogen for men, it's around 20 to 40.
So I'll tell you a fun fact. Why I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. Because your lab test will have reference ranges on the test. And what we typically look for to see if you're in the upper end, the upper third of that reference range, based on the healthier levels. Should we talk about because sometimes your labs are age adjusted.
Right. And that's
so they know you're 53. So they're only going to give you the range.
What that means is if they age adjust my results at 53, the number I see there might actually be normal, even though if I want to go back to age 30 or 29, is that what I said? Yeah. It's low.
Right. So we have to look at that range for, the 30-year-old.
Right.
And then it's the upper third of that range.
So get yourself a good integrative physician. Those are doctors that, like myself, like to combine conventional with nutrition, with supplements. It's doing whatever's best for somebody at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
But most of those integrative type practitioners are going to know more about the hormones. You can always go to endocrinologists. Urologists are usually pretty good with some of this as well.
They are, yes.
Yeah. So just make sure you find yourself someone's mom is
oh, thank you, Mom. That Barbara Moore, that is my mom. You can't remember everything. That's right. That's why we have reference ranges.
I'm sorry, Barbara, your daughter failed. She's going to have to start over. All right. So let's move into, we briefly touched on symptoms, right? We just kind of mentioned a few.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about this because a lot of these can be very common, right? We already mentioned low libido. Along with that could be erectile dysfunction,
Yeah.
right? Now, depression is listed as a low T symptom. But I want to talk about that for a second. Because that word depression, it's just kind of an umbrella word, right? It can mean a lot of different things. You guys out there watching, you don't have to necessarily feel depressed or you're having the blues to be depressed. Maybe you've lost motivation to do things that you really like to do. That's a sign of depression.
Maybe you've lost confidence.
Confidence.
That's what you often see. It's kind of that where you typically walk in the room, chest out. I've got, this swagger about you. You lose your swag.
I mean, only Robson walks in like that. No one else does.
That idea that you're invincible, testosterone can give you that sense.
It does.
When
I get what you're saying.
Away,
men lose confidence, and that can be connected to depression.
Maybe sometimes a little more emotional. Now you and your significant other are crying at the movies, watching the shows. Maybe that's because your testosterone is converting into estrogen, a little more sensitive.
And that does happen as we get older, right? That conversion happens more. So there's another term out there for the loss of testosterone. It's not just andropause, low T. Some doctors, it's an old term. You don't hear it that much anymore, but they called it the feminization of men, where your testosterone to estrogen ratio is changing. So where your testosterone's lower, your estrogen's higher. Yeah. And they call that the feminization of men.
Yeah. Other things you see is loss of muscle mass that we talk about that. Yeah. Insulin resistance. So, and you're also maybe gaining more weight in your central abdominal area as well. And
then fatigue, tiredness. Yes. Yep. So those are some of the common symptoms. So again, what you need to look at is the whole picture. What's your age? But keep in mind, it's not one of these things determines whether you need or not. You got to look at the whole thing.
Yes.
So age, symptoms, and then ultimately it's blood testing. Yeah. Right. Okay, so let's move into exactly some more details about testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I think is very common question that we get asked, you see it on our social channels, is how long does this go on for? Like if I'm going to start this, is this forever now, or is this short periods? Can you go on and off? There's a lot of questions around this. What do you think?
Well, if your body's not naturally producing the hormones, then it's a lifelong dedication.
Yeah.
You may not need as much as you would need when you start, because once you kind of let's say you start getting some energy, now you're working out, you're able to weight train, the muscles will help.
All that helps with
testosterone.
Yep.
You lose some belly fat, so now maybe you're not converting as much into estrogen, so you can adjust your doses, but it's something that you're going to need.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it because your levels are low. And it's funny, there's another question people ask too about, and this is women also. Well, if I start doing testosterone or any hormone, let's say, well, my body's going to stop making it. That's common. We hear that, right? Well, your body's already not making it. That's why we're suggesting the hormone, right? So you don't need to worry about that. Listen, it is safe for most men. Again, it's individual by individual. Talk to your own doctor. But it's safe for most men to stay on this as long as they want.
Yeah.
There's really no time frame.
Helps you to age gracefully.
Right. So let's get into some of the different ways you can receive the testosterone, how it can be administered. You got, number one, you got injections. Those used to be real popular because we didn't have a lot of really good gels yet. Gels and patches came along.
Right.
And that, I think, is probably the most common now. So you can do injections, but then you also have gels and patches. Most people find that so much easier.
I think so. The pros and cons, or I would say it's more of a convenience. The injections, one is you're injecting yourself, but the injections, you don't have to administer it every day.
Yeah.
Like maybe
That's
once
true.
a week to every 3 weeks.
It's usually a week or so, for most.
And so the gels, you do have to put your gel on every day.
Yeah, and you got to be careful. You can't, when you put the gel on, You got to make sure you're not letting your wife hug you at first.
Or your kids.
Or your kids. Because you can transfer some of that testosterone into them. So you got so there are, I guess there's pros and cons for both. So it really just comes down to what is convenient for you, what you like to do.
The pellets.
There's pellets.
That's a great way.
Pellets are the easiest thing probably.
Yes.
The only issue with pellets is so they put under your skin, and it releases this amount of testosterone over, slowly over time. The problem with that is, adjusting dose. Mm-hmm. See, it's one of the things about hormones, when you start taking them, when you start replacing testosterone, you have to have follow-up labs. Because remember, the goal is to get you, for me, I'm going to get to 29. I got to make sure I don't go too much. Am I too low? And so injections, gels, patches, it's easier to adjust that dose to match my labs. With the pellets, you're kind of stuck.
You are.
Yeah. But you don't have to worry about anything. So there's, it's still an option for you. There is oral, but we don't recommend oral.
Yes.
Right? Oral really is not what is called bioidentical. You want to explain that?
And it can be challenging on the liver with some of the orals as well. But bioidentical, to explain it, that means that the hormone is identical in structure to what the body naturally produces.
Right. And that's the safe. That's what you want. The body knows how to handle that.
Yes.
At the end of the day. And so the gels, patches, injections, those are the best ways to go in most cases. So let's go into a little bit about how a guy is going to feel.
Great.
Well, we get that.
Really?
So the question really is how long does it take to start feeling better? And here's the thing. The ultimate answer to that is kind of how low were you at the beginning? How bad were your symptoms? Because maybe 1 or 2 days of putting on a gel, you could start feeling better.
Oh, for sure.
Injections almost right away, right? So it can, especially if your level was really low, you can start feeling this quickly.
Yes, you can.
And you're going to be like, wow.
You just feel on top of the world.
Yeah.
Just and it goes back to the confidence, the energy, and just the will to live your best life.
Yeah, it's good. I'm excited. I'm going to start.
Me too.
Dr. Crystal tries everything, so believe her. And by the way, women do need testosterone.
Oh, I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah.
I was going to say it, but I said, well, this show is about men. But women need testosterone too. Men and women have all the same hormones, just in different levels. And when women's hormones, testosterone, start to decline, some of the same symptoms that men experience, women can experience as well.
Now, a lot of times, so hopefully at this point, you're convinced. If you have some of the symptoms, you're getting older like me, let's go get tested. Let's do it. Let's see what that level is. Based on that, let's get going. Let's get started. At the end of the day, the best way to raise testosterone levels is by taking testosterone. That's it.
You are replacing what your body's not producing.
However, there still remains a decent amount of men that just, there's something about taking hormones that scares guys, right? For a lot of men, the first thing they're going to say is, what about my prostate?
Yes.
Right? Well, if you have a healthy prostate when you're starting, and remember, PSA is part of your test. You're going to check that out. Yes. If you have a healthy prostate and you start testosterone therapy, there is no indication that testosterone is going to lead to prostate cancer. None. There's no research showing that. So you're ready to go. Now, if you already have prostate cancer, that's a different story. You're in a different population. Talk to your doctor. Yeah. So that right there, we can just move out. That shouldn't be an issue. However, there's still going to be some guys who just don't want to do it.
For whatever reason. And what's important is you have to feel good about anything that you're doing.
Right, yeah.
And so if it's not something that you want to do, there are things that you can take over the counter, because testosterone is a prescription. Did we say that?
Yeah, it is a prescription. You have to actually go get that integrative doctor. Yeah.
You need the integrative doctor. You need the prescription. But there are things that you can take, like DHEA.
Yeah, we have a whole huge list. Look at this.
Yes.
Look at this. Now, we're just showing you, in everything you see on that list, by the way, is research proven to boost testosterone to various degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything's equal there, right? But you got a whole bunch of, I think, things to choose from. Tribulus, for example, very popular. That's often you find in a lot of those commercially driven products. The guys, the ex-football players. Right? Have you ever seen those commercials?
No.
Oh, come on! They're ex-football players, and now they're on the golf course, and they're talking to another golfer, like, "Oh, is your sex drive a little low? Like, what are you?"
I haven't seen those.
Those products are going to usually be Tribulus, but we're just going to talk about a few of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's start with maintaining a healthy body weight and muscle mass. What's that do?
So I think it goes back to the testosterone turning into estrogen. That enzyme or that process, the more body fat you have, the more that process will take place.
Yeah.
The more it makes that enzyme that's converting it.
And so testosterone drops, estrogen goes up, and that's what they used to call the feminization of men.
But it's a cycle too, because once you have the testosterone going down, the estrogen going up, when the estrogen goes up, you start gaining more of the body fat.
That's
then the
mean.
body fat then decreases the testosterone.
It's all,
you get in this vicious
it's
cycle.
all estrogen's fault. That's what it sounds like to me. All right, so maintain a healthy weight. Definitely keep your muscle mass up. Probably then from there, it is a hormone. This is a hormone. It's DHEA, but it's over the counter. It usually comes in a capsule form. Very simple to take. And why would you want to take DHEA? Well, it converts into testosterone.
But there's the but.
Here it comes.
It also can convert into estrogen. So we have to keep our eye on estrogen at all times.
Yeah.
I can't say that enough.
Right. And so, but DHEA has some other properties other than testosterone boosting, right?
Oh.
I mean, it's great for the immune system. That's probably a big thing.
That's what I was going to
DHEA.
say. For me, I keep it on standby.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get sick a little bit, you can take it. Also, DHEA is important for muscle mass, right? So DHEA, you're working out a little bit more. That's going to improve that testosterone to estrogen ratio a little bit. So that's a big one. Tell us about pomegranate and cocoa seed.
Yeah, so these in combination, there's some research that they can help to support testosterone levels. They help the cells that produce testosterone. They also can help to stop some of that conversion of the testosterone to estrogen.
Yeah.
That as well as luteolin, kind of that combination.
Yeah, luteolin, 275 milligrams. It's a flavonoid found in various fruits and vegetables that can also help to boost.
Yeah.
And there's actually a decent preclinical study on luteolin.
Yeah, and one thing about that combination of the pomegranate and the cocoa extract, research shows that it increases total testosterone and free testosterone.
Ding, 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 free. That's the key thing, right? We want more free. Sometimes I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole here, so hold me back if I get a little too far. All of your hormones, because they are fatty, they don't like to travel around the bloodstream.
Yeah.
So they need a carrier. And there's a protein that, I'm not even going to go into the name of the protein. Yeah. There's a protein that carries around these hormones, right? Yeah. As you increase testosterone, you're going to increase that protein. And sometimes that protein, as we get older, loves to hold on to that testosterone. It doesn't release it to the tissues to be free. So often if you might notice if you're only boosting up total testosterone, your levels may go up, but because it's bound, you're not getting the effect.
It's almost you take it and you say, man, all that talk Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal did, and I'm not feeling any of it, and maybe
it might be that protein. It's called sex hormone binding globulin. I had to say it.
You had to.
You can, matter of fact, let's add that to the list. I see it there. Measure the life extension. Let's add
sex hormone binding globulin to the list.
Give them the accurate.
SHBG.
There you go.
I knew that. So do I get points for that one?
Oh,
Dr.
no, this
Mike?
is a different class now. We've been talking a lot too about testosterone converting into estrogen being an issue. And there are like luteolin, which we already mentioned, that is able to inhibit that enzyme that makes that conversion. And then also pretty popular for this is chrysin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chrysin combined with black pepper for absorption has some good research. And I do have to plug this in, Dr. Mike. It's not a part of our script, but some men who are on testosterone prescription may also need a little medication
to stop that conversion.
To stop that conversion.
But that's up to the doctor.
Right.
That's why you have to, if you're going to do this, if you're going to replace testosterone, especially with the hormone, you need to be dedicated to getting blood testing periodically. You got to be able to follow this kind of stuff because your doctor can make adjustments. Your doctor can make sure you're not converting as much to estrogen. And there's things that they can do. Yeah. So you've got to be dedicated to blood testing. That was a lot of information, but not even close to the amount of information you can find at lifeextension.com/low-T. There it is on the screen. Low-T. You see it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's our protocol. Correct? Yeah.
The male hormone restoration protocol.
We barely touched on anything in the show compared to what's in that protocol.
Yes.
Right? So make sure that you go check that out, lifeextension.com/low-T. By the way, when you're at Life Extension and you're shopping around, right?
Yeah.
You can get a discount code. Shop around, go to your cart, and put in LE Live, and you'll get 10% off $50 or more, plus free shipping and handling. Don't forget, we go live every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. And whatever channel you watch us on, just follow us, subscribe to the channel, so that way, you always know when we're going live. But it's 12 noon Eastern time. I'm Dr. Mike.
Dr. Crystal.
We'll see you next time.